Ranking up in Valorant has gotten harder. The general player base has improved, but yet 70% of the player base is ranked gold and below, with the average player stuck in gold and silver. Why can't you and the majority of players rank up? In this video, I'll be introducing 4 fixes you can use to eliminate crucial mistakes that you are making that are keeping you hard stuck. Watch till the very end for the game-changing bonus tip. Valorant is fairly simple. It's a game of cat and mouse where we need to shoot the enemies and they must shoot us. The person with the better aim typically comes out on top, right? Well, no. This way of thinking will put you in bad situations where securing kills becomes incredibly difficult. Rather than thinking so much about your aim, let's shift our focus to our movement. Specifically, your movement in regards to being a hard target for your enemies to hit. Being hard to kill will allow you to buy yourself more time to eliminate your enemies. We see pros such as Loudless and Fnatic Leo abuse the movement mechanics within Valorant to be hard targets to kill. The more we make the enemies work, the better our odds are of winning. This will cause frustration within your enemies. So how do we make our enemies miss? Well, the answer to this question is pretty simple. Strafe. If you're holding an angle and the enemy managed to swing past or before your crosshair, you will need to adjust your crosshair onto their head before shooting. In this situation, we need to strafe while adjusting our crosshair onto their heads to remain hard to kill. This makes us hard to kill since when the enemy peeks us, they will be aiming where we were and we will be aiming where they are. Think of this as an Uno reverse move you can do in your matches. If you're close to your enemy, consider running and gunning full rainbow style to remain a hard target to kill. Luckily, Valorant's movement inaccuracy is not very punishing for close range fights, so we can afford to run and gun with rifles, pistols, and LMGs. The rule for this is if the enemy is 7 meters or closer, we want to run and gun to ensure that we are not an easy target. This target compared to this target is harder, so make sure you are the harder target. If you're mid-range, then you want to implement strafes in between your bursts. If you're taking a long-range fight, then consider going for one-taps and in between each one-tap strafe. Depending on if you're using a Vandal, Ghost, Classic, Bulldog, Sheriff, Guardian, or Phantom, your strafes may need to be longer to allow your weapon's recoil to reset. If you're peeking an enemy, make sure to take full advantage of the mechanic dead zoning. This will allow you to shoot while remaining a moving target. You do this by pressing and holding the opposite movement key after moving in one direction. Once you switch directions, that is when you may shoot 1 to 2 bullets accurately. With each of the 4 scenarios that I've provided, you now know how to remain a hard target to kill, so you may give yourself more time to secure your kills. By implementing these methods into your gameplay, you can expect to get more highlight clips to post online. A good way to improve your movement to be a hard target to kill for your enemies is by practicing each method individually in either a deathmatch or a team deathmatch. Now, being a hard target to kill looks pretty cool, but you know what's even more cool is if you properly learn how to play off of your teammates. You see, playing off of your teammates is like a cheat code. It doesn't matter if your teammate is the next 10s, whether your teammate is absolutely terrible, or if your teammate is just straight up throwing. By playing with your teammates, your performance will skyrocket. Let's say I'm playing as Phoenix and my fade sucks. She's very bad. What I would do if we were defending B main is I would have Fade push up to a corner to where I can use her as bait. Now, I would wait until we made contact with the enemies and then flash, instructing my Fade to peek, allowing her to get easy kills or deal serious damage with my assistance. By doing this, I'm putting my terrible teammate in a good position where I too can capitalize off of this opening. An effective way to communicate this plan is by saying, hey Fade, let's get some easy kills, and then you may proceed on telling them the plan that you have. If we have a teammate who is just cracked out of his mind, who within the first half already has 20 kills, then we can ask them this. Hey Jet, let me know if you need any of my utility. I'm going to swing off your contact. Wow, you see, it's that simple. If my Jet is dropping 20 kills in the first half, then I want to play off of her because that means he's obviously doing something right. If he gets eliminated by the enemies, I want to be there to trade him. Now, make sure to apply the 5-meter rule so that way the spacing between you and this top frag Jet are not too far apart. Next, if you have a teammate who is clearly throwing, has no comms, and is running it down, consider following them. That way, they can clear spaces of the map for you. Once they make contact with the enemy, make sure that you are there to trade them. The biggest mistake you can make when in fact having a throwing teammate is get angry at the fact that they're throwing rather than using them. For all three types of teammates, use these rules. If your teammate fights, you fight. If your teammate peeks, you should typically peek unless it's a stupid fight to where your teammate is swinging into 5 people. Lastly, don't be that teammate sitting in the back of sight when you have a teammate fighting B main. Figure out how you can help them. I'm talking to you, Killjoy mains. But you know how you can stop throwing and actually improve is by improving your overall mechanics. One of the biggest mistakes that I see low ranked players make is that they tend to prioritize playing over practicing. Now, don't get me wrong, if you just like to have fun, then there is no problem with this. However, if you want to get better, then this is going to hold you back severely. To fully understand this concept, think of a professional soccer player. These guys only spend about 5 to 10% of their entire time playing in a match. The other 90 to 95% of their time is spent practicing. If you guys are serious about getting out of the lower ranks and actually getting good in this game, you need to practice improving your mechanics. It may be boring, but it's the thing you must do to actually improve. So here's a checklist you can use to fully eliminate your weak mechanics. First is using the Valorant Voltaic benchmarks to develop your raw aim and mouse control. Next is going into the practice range and learning Valorant movement combinations and learning how to sync your movement with your aim. I have plenty of exercises for you guys to check out after this video throughout my YouTube channel and my Discord server, where you can also get private one-on-one coaching or free VOD reviews Wednesday nights. Lastly, you need to put some hours into deathmatches or team deathmatches. Personally, I like team deathmatches a lot better because I feel like you take more quality gunfights that you will likely take in an actual match. That is basically your 3-step checklist: aim labs, the Valorant range, and team deathmatch. Give yourself a month, and in 30 days from now, you will see your mechanics completely transform as long as you stick to this routine consistently. You only need to spend 10 to 15 minutes in each department, so make sure that you aren't overdoing anything, especially when you're only warming up. Now that you're actually able to win your gunfights and look cool when playing, you need to understand that in the higher ranks, everyone has good mechanics and everyone has a decent aim. The trick that will allow you to stand out compared to other players is your utility usage. You need to learn how to use your utility selfishly so you can increase your own performance. However, if you have a chance to help out a teammate in making a smart play, then use your utility for your teammates. Whenever you're doing this, don't fall victim to the mistake of becoming a utility. Don't be the last one to enter the site every single time because you are dumping your utility to allow your team to push in. Use your utility in a way where your teammates can capitalize off of it, but so can you. If I'm playing Sky and I'm planning on flashing onto site, I don't want to be all the way back. I want to be up close with my team to pop flash onto site and then move into site with my team. By doing this, we can expect for our utility to have a direct impact to where we can take advantage of our flash as well. Let's take a look at this clip to see what our student could have done better utility-wise.
Spike down A. Last player standing. One enemy remaining.
They're concussed.
Did he use a flash?
The first thing I want to address is that you should not have utility left over at the end of the round. So with this being said, how could we have used our utility more effectively? In my opinion, Sky had 2 opportunities to where he could have used his Sky flashes, here and here. Nonetheless, it was an amazing clip, but we can expect for the student to be able to win these types of clutches consistently if he uses his utility more effectively rather than relying on movement and aim alone. Now, if you ever find yourself in a situation like this where you will be using your utility for yourself, which will be 80% of the time, you need to understand that if the enemies are within 5 meters, we may not want to use our utility because we can get caught and die. But if the enemies are a good distance away, as we saw in the clip, then we are in the green zone. Some key examples of being able to use your utility better is using your prowlers as fade to peek, or even using Killjoy's turret as a 6-man to peek or hold an angle. This is very similar to how Raze can nade off angles while she's scaling, so that way she doesn't have to worry about an enemy swinging from that given angle. These are all great examples to where you can implement within your own matches to have better utility usage. And finally, the last mind-blowing bonus fix that I have for you all today that will completely change the way you play Valorant is by slowing down. You see, the faster you tend to play, the more reckless you become, and the more reckless you become, the more likely you are to make mistakes. At the end of the day, winning matches, ranking up, or even winning tournaments comes down to whoever can make the least amount of mistakes possible. So, to prevent these mistakes from adding up and penalizing you, you want to make sure that you are playing slow, carefully making the correct decisions that are going to put you in winning situations. So if your team loves to play fast, make sure that you keep up with them, but at the same time, maintain your own comfortable pace. If they want to rush in and die, well then just let them. As long as you're able to trade them, you'll be fine. If your team is playing incredibly slow and you are more comfortable playing at a faster pace, figure out a way on how you can mix your playstyle along with theirs. So rather than letting your team entry, maybe you can be the entry and direct your team as to what utility they can use to help you out. If your team refuses, then what you need to do is sit back, scale up with your team slowly, and then when it's time to explode, you can unleash the beast. But don't get impatient and do not get frustrated. Maintain a level head so that way you can continue playing the way you feel most comfortable playing. And with all that being said, that is what I have for you all today. Be sure to like the video and subscribe. It's completely free and it helps me out a ton. Now, the biggest struggle I see players have, especially in the lower ranks, is struggling to improve their mechanics. With that being said, I recommend watching this video next. But as always, it's been a pleasure, and deuce everyone.